Take control of your finances. Gain insights from top industry professionals. Financial topics that matter to you from your go-to resource. This is Right on the Money with your host, Dennis Mattern.
Hello and welcome to Right on the Money, the show that features financial advisors, insurance professionals, and fiduciaries who discuss financial topics that empower you to take control of your finances. I'm your host, Dennis Mattern, and I'd like to welcome Dan Kutzkey, founder and president of Maxwell Financial Group. Dan, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. It is a treat, and I'm excited to explore our topic today. We're going to talk about a question, an issue that really affects so many Americans pre and post-retirement, and that is, what do you do with your old 401k? If you leave your job, what are your main options that you can do with that old 401k?
Well, Dennis, great question. You know, when people leave their employer for whatever reason and they have that old 401k plan, there are really, if we're looking at it from the big picture, there are three options you have. You can leave the plan where it is, or leave your account as it may, roll it into the new employer plan if you've gone off to somewhere else. There are products available for these accounts that you can look at, or you can simply cash it out. Those are really your primary options for these types of accounts.
Whenever you have choices, there's pros and cons to every decision that we make. Why would it be important? Taxes have got to be a big issue here, are they not? Or at least a big consideration?
Absolutely. Taxes and penalties are hands down one of the largest considerations that anyone should have when they're looking at moving a 401k plan account. And depending on the size of the account, depending on the individual's age, those tax implications can really vary from rather minor all the way up to pretty severe. For those individuals under 59 and a half, you have the 10% penalty to contend with. And then, as I mentioned, depending on the size of the accounts, you have your state and federal income taxes that are definitely impacted from the perspective of when you file that income tax at the end of the year. Obviously, you're getting that little bump in income, or for some, a rather large bump in income, depending on what you decide to do with that account. So yes, we definitely want to make sure we're addressing the size and age of the client at that point.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that we'll talk that I'd like to ask you about is, again, everything has a pro and everything has a con. So just from a high level, what would be some of the pros of maybe leaving your 401k where it's at, and then some of the cons, and then what would be maybe a pro and con of moving it into a new plan or an IRA? Let's start with the old plan. What would be maybe some of the pros and cons of leaving it sit?
Forgive me, because this is a rather long-winded answer for this particular question, but if we're looking at the pros of really keeping the account where it is, and some people feel rather strongly about that, there's definitely a stability factor. For those that have been at a particular employer and a particular plan for a very long time, there is definitely a stability and, avoiding that fear of the unknown. Not to mention, you may have had some great success with that plan. Some of the investment options, fee structures, those things might have really worked well for you and your retirement goals, your personal financial goals. All of those may have, been working in lockstep and been doing good things for you. So I think that's one of the big pros in keeping your account there is just that stability and not having to take any big risks.
Sure.
Some of the other ones that I see frequently are people planning on returning to that employer. This is a kind of sidestep here with a little story, but we do a lot of work with a rather large employer in our area that I will not name because it'll be rather obvious to the viewers watching. But they have a provision in the plan that allows you to return to that plan within the next 5 years and pick up right where you left off. So in certain cases, it might make sense to leave it where it is because there are benefits to doing so. Given that 401k plans are very customizable per the employer's wishes, they can definitely have those parts and features that really incentivize people leaving an employer maybe thinking about going back to that employer. And that would be another pro that I would really strongly consider when you are looking at these various types of accounts and what somebody should do with them.
Clearly, just that part of your answer tells me that what you decide to do with your 401k is no small decision, and that's why it's great that advisors like yourself, are out there to be able to answer these questions. In fact, I want to put this in right now, but Dan, what's the best way for somebody watching this episode to get in touch with you? Website, phone number?
Honestly, all of the above. We actually get contacted most commonly through the website. I'd say that's probably the number one way people can reach out and schedule with us. And of course, we get a lot of contact through word of mouth. We are out there on the social media universe. We do have, of course, the traditional office lines, emails, and so forth, that are all great ways to get in contact with us.
Awesome. Now, so you answered the pros and the cons of leaving it. What would be some of the pros of rolling your 401k into maybe your new company, or maybe even taking the option and putting it into an IRA?
Well, here we get into again another long-winded answer. In terms of moving the funds, I think that the vast majority of the clients we run into do choose to take this option. And the reason for that is primarily comes down to cost and how customizable the larger IRA universe is than a focused 401k plan. Looking at the pros side, I think number one on the list has and always will be the cost of those investments. An outside IRA, depending on where you land, can be free or can come with some advice, and there's some small costs associated with that. Not to mention that in most cases, you're opening yourself up to the entire universe of different investment options, EFTs, mutual funds, various products, all of which can be really dialed into the individual consumer and really help them get to where they're going a little bit faster. In terms of cons, I think that a lot of people have chosen to do this alone, especially the further we get along in the technology that's out there. People using platforms like E-Trade, Charles Schwab, those types of things that come at little to no cost, but they are really a self-directed option. You're out there, you're on your own. I think the biggest risk there is stepping away from that fiduciary universe. You don't have as much help. You've got a world of research at your fingertips, but you don't necessarily know where to start looking. And so it's a big leap of faith, and you're putting a lot of trust in yourself to be able to guide those decisions. And I think that's the more risky idea behind doing something like an IRA.
We're going to take a step away. We're going to take a quick break. But what we're going to do when we come back, we're going to talk to Dan about, making sure you avoid tax mistakes and ways to maximize growth with that 401k with your retirement money. So with that being said, I also want you to know that you can always watch full episodes on our YouTube channel or at rightonthemoneyshow.com. When you're there, do us a favor, squeeze the like button, click subscribe. That way you won't miss a single show. We'll see you on the other side of the break.